suffering and neglect. Tired of centuries of disrespect.
Gotta take your knee off my neck.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. No more mothers crying, no more others dying. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. We just can't go on this way. We've got to break these chains. Now's the time to make a change. Together we can start a brand new day.
And tomorrow.
Say the name.
Orlando, Freddie, Eric, and
Say
Jamal.
the name.
Sandy, George, and Rihanna.
Say
Make me wanna scream and holler.
sick and tired. Sick and tired. So sick and tired. No more mothers crying, no more others dying. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. So sick and tired. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. No more mothers crying, no more others dying. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. We can't breathe. No more mothers crying, no more others dying. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. We can't breathe. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. No justice, no peace. Being sick and tired. I'm so tired. Being sick and tired. No justice, no peace. Being sick and tired.
I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. Glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. And today, as yesterday, we are proud to be part of the Black Press USA network. You can watch this anywhere around the country through our affiliate organization, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, at Black Press USA, Black Press USA NNPA. So we're glad to have that connection. The Black Press of America, a powerful voice, a powerful organization representing over 200 newspapers nationwide, and newspapers with a history of fighting for the interest, the vision, the dignity of our people. We are proud to have Insight News to be among that illustrious membership organization. Well, today we wanted to talk about what was announced last Wednesday, and that was the U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced an investigation of the city of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Police Department. Proud to have members of the Unity Mediation Task Force. Is that the right word? I'm saying it the right. Unity Mediation Task Force, I think that's the right name, but I'll correct it if I'm wrong in a second, to be discussing this event with us today. I'm going to start, though, by reading the press release from the Attorney General announcing the investigation in Minneapolis. Attorney General Merrick B. Garland announced last week, Wednesday, that the Justice Department has opened a pattern or practices investigation into the city of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Police Department. The investigation will assess all types of force used by MPD officers, including uses of force involving individuals with behavioral health disabilities and uses of force against individuals engaged in activities protected by the First Amendment. The investigation will also assess whether MPD engages in discriminatory policing. As part of the investigation, the Justice Department will conduct a comprehensive review of MPD policies, training, and supervision. The department will also examine MPD's systems of accountability, including complaint intake, investigation, review, disposition, and discipline. The Department of Justice will also reach out to community groups and members of the public to learn about their experiences with MPD. Open quote, the investigation I'm announcing today will assess whether the Minneapolis Police Department engages in a pattern or practice of using excessive force, including during protests, close quote, said Attorney General Garland. He goes on to say, building trust between community and law enforcement will take time and effort by all of us, but we undertake this task with determination and urgency, knowing that change cannot wait. The Department of Justice officials on Wednesday informed Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Minneapolis Police Department Chief Medaria Arredondo, City Attorney Jim Rowander, and City Coordinator Mark Ruff, and City Council President Lisa Bender of the investigation. The department will continue to work closely with both the city and the department as the investigation progresses. One of the Civil Rights Division's highest priorities is to ensure that every person in this country benefits from public safety systems that are lawful, responsive, transparent, and non-discriminatory, said Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Pamela S. Carlin for the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. She says, it is essential that police departments across the country use their law enforcement authority, including the authority to use force, in a manner that respects civil rights and sanctity of human life. People throughout the city of Minneapolis want a public safety system that protects and serves all members of our community, said Acting U.S. Attorney W. Anders Folk for the District of Minnesota. This investigation by the Department of Justice provides a vital step to restore and build trust in the Minneapolis Police Department and its officers. The investigation is being conducted pursuant to the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, which prohibits state and local governments from engaging in a pattern or practice of conduct by law enforcement officers that deprives individuals of rights protected by the Constitution or federal law. The act allows the Department of Justice to remedy such misconduct through litigation. The department will be assessing law enforcement practices under the First, Fourth, and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution, as well as under the Safe Streets Act of 1968, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The Special Litigation Section of the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division in Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Minnesota in Minneapolis are jointly conducting this investigation. Individuals with relevant information are encouraged to contact the Department of Justice via email at community.minneapolis@usdoj.gov or by phone at 866-432-0268. The number is 866-432-0268. Individuals can also report civil rights violations regarding this or other matters using the Civil Rights Division's new reporting portal available at civilrights.justice.gov. Additional information about the Civil Rights Division is available at its website at justice.gov, CRT, and at the Office for the District of Minnesota, which is www.justice.gov/USAO-Minnesota. A lot of information, but it's important information. And what it says is that the federal government is once again stepping in to look at police practices with the eye to examining what doesn't work, what hasn't worked, and what we can do to make sure we have effective police policy and practice here in Minnesota. Well, I'm joined by Zach Matoria. Zach, are you there? And Al Flowers, both are members of the Unity Community. Zach, I'm having a moment here, a senior moment with the full name of the organization.
Unity Community Mediation Team.
It just blanked out of my mind. Unity Community Mediation Team. And I apologize for having that senior moment. But, I wanted to take the time to ask you and your colleagues, Al Flowers is trying to join us, to review and to explain what this investigation means. But first of all, let me ask you to talk about the Unity Community Mediation Team, who you are, what your mission is, how it originated, and what your work is in this question of police accountability. So to start off, Zach Matoya, thank you for being here, cousin Zach Matoya, and talk about the history of UCMT, Unity Community Mediation Team. No, I lost your sound. Can you turn your sound on? Yeah, you might have muted by mistake, because I heard you a second ago.
Yeah. No. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, Zach.
Al, you're on live, Al. So make sure you're attending to talk to our audience here. Zach is muted now. Zach, can you unmute again? Try to unmute, and then Al Flowers, when you're ready, I'll bring you up. But you're on camera right now. Zach, try to unmute again. And Kelvin, are you able to unmute Zach Matoya? So listen, let's do this. Well, we figured out, Al Flowers, good afternoon, brother. Good to see you here. We have a problem with the microphone with Zach Matoya, but you're here. Our problem with you, Al, is that you have the light behind you, and if there's any way to turn around so the light is on the front of you, it would just be a lot better to see you, because we can't see you right now. We see a shadow. Zach, are you available to talk now, Zach?
Oops.
Try it again, Zach. Okay, we'll work that out.
Can you hear me, Al?
I hear you perfectly. And Zach, are you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Zach. Now I do. There we go. Look, we'll get it. We'll get it. Okay. So let's start. Zach, I was asking you to give a background on Unity Community Mediation Team. Go ahead and start with that.
Okay, back somewhere around 2001, the community had a very large outcry of police brutality in the community. And so what we did was make contact with the Department of Justice through their Chicago office. And they came in and told us about mediation and receivership and things of that nature. Educated us with a number of different forums throughout the city. And it was the appropriate process by which we could forge a team to represent the community. So there were a number of different where we actually brought in different communities, and then the communities themselves represented their representatives. We had a meeting of African-American community, including the leadership, the Hmong community, the GLBTQ, the Native American community, and everybody selected their own representatives to be a part of this team. We then engaged in mediation as the Department of Justice being the facilitator with the Minneapolis Police Department. And the result of that was the drafting and signing of what's called a memorandum of agreement. So it was an agreement between the police department and the community to make changes in the police department. And so we had that process. And then as a follow-up to that process, another 3 years was added for us to monitor the process and the progression of it all, you know, to make sure that they were being held accountable for everything. At that point in time, we had more work to complete, and we requested that an extension be put in place, and it was ultimately denied. The mayor denied that request back then, and I believe he formed some other committees or stuff like that to try to get that work accomplished. Fast forwarding,
Mhm.
Um, the day after the death, the murder of George Floyd, um, I felt a certain sense of urgency. And so at the same time that Reverend McAfee and Spike Moss and Al Flowers and others were meeting with Police Chief Arredondo downtown, I was actually on the phone with the Department of Justice and getting them back to the city so that we could get back to the table and get our work finished. And so that's where we are right now, brother McFarlane. We are currently engaged in mediation with the Minneapolis Police Department, and one of the unique features uh, that has been added to the whole process this time around is we have a young people's task force that is made up of youth. And the reason we did that is because we see the need for this generational. And so we need to develop young leadership to be able to come in and take over the roles of leadership of the Unity Community Mediation Team. But we also need their direct input in this whole process. That's vitally important. And so we have an outstanding youth task force, and we have found that they are even able and have the capability of breaking other barriers, because the youth task force was the ones that initiated contact with the Minneapolis Police Federation and got the Minneapolis Police Federation to the table for us to have open discussion with them about what can we do to help change the overall way that the federation is operating, to look into what they have done that's positive as well as negative, and then going from there. So we're already engaged in discussions with them. So it's a lot of work.
Take a second and explain who the Federation is. We've got viewers, listeners, not only here in Twin Cities, but around the country as part of the Black Press USA NNPA network, the Black Press of America. And you threw a couple of terms out that were important that people who are not here might not understand. One of them was the Federation. What is the Federation? And I have a general question, too, that will take you back over some of the same material that you said. But bear with me, because I simply want to be clear. And I thank you so much for the history that you're carrying forward. It's wonderful to have the firsthand participation and witness that you're providing. So, one, you said when the Unity Community Mediation Team was created, right? Unity Community Mediation Team was created. That was the basis of the Justice Department responding to a letter from you all at that time. What was the first set of incidents? What were the first set of incidents that brought in to the formal organization of the mediation team, Unity Community Mediation Team?
Oh, well, that's very simplistic in nature. It would be the brutality on citizens from the Minneapolis Police Department for many years before that. Spike Moss, Reverend McAfee, and others, including Communities United Against Police Brutality, have been trying to get something done. And ultimately, when we came into formation, it was, for lack of a better term, the climax of it all. And the Department of Justice at that point in time agreed to come in and work with us. And I think that is vitally important that everybody understands that there are many departments and faucets to the Department of Justice. Okay, they have an investigation department. They have another department that's the one that we utilize for mediation, that is there to there's no law things tied to that. It's just where they're coming in and provide services to the community, and one of those services is to be a facilitator in mediation. I hope I answered your question.
You did, and I wanted to establish the formalization of Unity community mediation team, of how you all came together, and you reached out to the Department of Justice and invited them to support you in your effort to seek change at the Minneapolis Police Department. So is that a fair description of how it all evolved?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And one thing you said that I want to get clear on, you said at some point in time, the city chose not to deal with you all and tried to organize another separate body, right? One of the mayors did. Did I understand that properly?
Well, well, first of all, we actually had to do some very serious lobbying with city council at that time. We did not have the majority of the vote in support, so we had to do some lobbying, and we also launched a petition campaign, petitioning the city council to authorize us to move forward, and eventually they did. Once we got through the whole process of mediation, we signed the agreement. The city council reviewed the agreement and approved it and all like that, and we signed the agreement. And then after that, after we had the signed agreement, we worked for another 3 years to monitor the processes. We also worked with the police department on what was called critical incident response. And if there was an instance that involved the police, we would respond to it. Brother Al Flowers, Brother Ron Edwards, Spike Moss, different ones of us were members of that team. We had received training through the Department of Justice to do that work. And we would respond and go actually to the scenes and work with the families and the community to make sure that, it was as peaceful as possible, and explain the processes that the police department had to go through during a homicide type of a situation. And so we did that as well. But after that term was up, that 3-year term, once that was up, we attempted to renew it for another 3 years. And at that time, Mayor R.T. Ryback denied our request.
And that's where you're saying he tried to create another group that would operate or fill that space that you all had created to hold the police accountable, right? And
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened? How did things go after that? Did you all disband or continue without a formal relationship with the city? Tell me what happened.
Well, actually, what happened was a number of us continued the work. Brother Al Flowers, Ron Edwards, Booker T. Hodges, different ones. But we did not have a formal setting by which to do that. So it pretty much, I'm not going to say disbanded, but pretty much almost went into a dormant state. Okay. And we are now out of that dormant state.
Okay, great. Al Flowers is here. Al, thank you for being here, and thank you for all the work you're doing in community. And I wanted to take this time to explore and explain what this investigation means. And Zach just indicated that in part, or maybe completely, this is a response to calls from you asking for the investigation. Do you take credit for that, Zach, or was this happening independently? Let me find out.
No, the current investigation is something that is, once again, for lack of a better understanding, action by the Department of Justice themselves. We wanted them here for mediation. We did not want them here for an investigation. Okay. And so, no, we did not request that they come in and do this current investigation. We did not. No.
Okay, but then you do see yourself working with them or being one of the resources they go to? Because as I read the press release, they said they intend to contact community voices broadly to see how the community evaluates police conduct, but they also will work with the police department and elected officials and other city players. How do you see that relationship developing, and what will your committee's relationship be with them?
Is that to me, Al?
Let me ask Zach first, and then you, Al.
Okay.
Actually, after that announcement came out, we actually met with them the next day at our headquarters, Reverend Bethel's Church in South Minneapolis. Ourselves, and then there was a few groups there as well. It was a small meeting in nature. It was kind of a preparatory thing. And we met with them, and we have agreed to participate in that process of the investigation, to put input into that whole process. I also want to add that the Department of Justice also had another process, and they called it community dialogues. And that went on for about 3 months or so. And we participated in that as well. And they also had reached out to other people in the community, what you call vested members, to participate in a virtual dialogue. I do not know, and we have not received any conclusion of those virtual dialogue sessions that we had. But during COVID, everything is really kind of difficult to get used to in operating and being productive. But everybody's adapting very well to that. But that's where we are with everything right now. And my understanding is that the virtual dialogues are going to continue along with this current investigation.
That's wonderful background. Thank you, Zach. Flowers, jump in. How you doing? First of all, and thank you for being here and available for this conversation. Just jump in and give your initial impressions of both what this Justice Department investigation can mean or should mean for our community.
Well, first, thanks, Al, for continuing to get the message out to what we're doing. And
are you getting feedback? Are you getting feedback on your sound?
Is that mine? Okay.
Try it.
Okay.
See.
Okay. Now let me say first of all, Al, Reverend Bethel was trying to call in. We didn't get the number. We didn't get the number right for him to get in. But Pastor Bethel is our chair. He's our spokesperson in our chair over at New Beginning Church over there on 43rd and 1st. Then I'll just go off of some of what Zach said. We did meet with the Justice Department at Pastor Bethel Church. Farhia Khalif set that meeting up for us to meet with the Justice Department and the U.S. Attorney. I was not originally going to go because we had problems at the beginning with the Justice Department when they came in. They never wanted to deal with what we were talking about in the community. And so we were sitting at a table that they was coming in with a different idea. And what Spike Moss said is that they weren't there to make nothing good happen for our community. And we still, and even this part where they're here now, and we got to make sure in Minneapolis that we claim our territory. I hate to say that, but we got to claim our territory because so many people are here creating social justice groups and just lodging here, but don't know nothing about Minneapolis. And so when Farhia, I was against us meeting with them before because of what Spike Moss had said to the team. They weren't here to help us, and I still don't know what their ultimate goal is, because when you have a team like the Unity and Community Mediation Team, which was started, as Zach said, over 20 years ago with Ron Edwards and Smike Moss and Booker Hodges, all them people, and not to forget the Native Americans of Clyde Belcourt, and Bill Means, then all the activist groups, Anita Urbina, who's there now. They were all there back then, and they there now, and that's what kind of scares the Justice Department, Al. When and so let's keep it real. When they came, they every time they came, they met with us. They had something different for us to do, because they wanted to bring different groups in. Then Al, when you do that, you're doing that because you want us to start over again. And when they looked at all the knowledge you have, when you have a Barbara Snyder, Mark Anderson with Barbara Snyder, Anita, Zach, or Pastor Bethel that been through the rodeo before, they didn't want that. And so so the next thing they said was, you don't have GLBTQ community. They didn't know. Yes, we did. We had one of the staunchest advocates, Rebecca Wagner, from the GLBT community. Then they say we didn't have the young people. Now and when they said we didn't have the young people, right after that, we created the young people. I say we because we're a team, and I don't say what I did. I'm the one reached out and started organizing the young team. But we can't say I in this where we at now. We got to say we. This is what we did as a team, and that's what we are. So when we talk about the Justice Department now, is it what can they do that we can't do? Well, what can they do that we can't do? We have the most powerful team. They should be listening to us, but instead, I think they still trying to figure out ways to pit organizations against, to not get nothing done. So to your question, what we gonna do with the judge? We will meet with them, but we can't lay down to what they doing. We have to say now what we want. And with the mediation team, that's why I wish Reverend Bethel was on here. We did a memorandum of understanding years ago, and they did none of it, as Zach talked about. The then Mayor R.T. Ryback didn't want to extend it, and it wasn't important to them. Everything that they're doing now with Chief Arredondo is changing policies and changing all these procedures. It's in that document of what we did 20 years ago. Now we got the young people task force that these young people don't understand how they reading a document 20 years old, and then they still saying the same thing. So our job now is not for us now, Al. It's for the young people to get out there and read and learn about what happened, learn their history. If they're gonna move us forward, they gotta learn the history. But we gotta be willing to teach them the history. We gotta be willing to teach. We can't let it be on us. I try to step back as much as I can, but sometimes, Al, in this struggle, I was at the meeting with the Federation yesterday with the police federation. First time in history, young people are sitting at the table with them, and then when we're at the table, they still don't get. Dr. Ora Holtz was there, and the police was trying to talk about what they cut and how they took everything away, and didn't know we fought for them not to have them cut. He didn't know that. The officer didn't know that. And then he talked about how great policing the police was. But you sitting in a room with 10 African-American men and women and you telling us how good the police is. Me, one that's being beat by 5 times. I done took 5 assaults. You probably know about a couple of them, Al, that I took. And this officer, it could be a good guy. I ain't saying this a bad officer, but he said no. But the police is not that bad. Because it's he got a kid gonna come on the department. Then he don't want his kid to come on and see police when Nicholas and AJ and them say we want the peace department. He said no. What's wrong with the police name? And I say that to say he just didn't understand. I told him, I said I wasn't going to talk at the meeting, which you know is always hard on me. But when he said that, when he said how good they was, I was he wasn't accepting what Dr. Holtz had told him, that the history of policing was to go capture slaves.
Yep.
It was to go capture slaves. Now we know that, Al. But he really didn't get it. So, and I'm watching the young people as he's saying that, and they looking confused, like, what is he? Do he really know? And so that's where we at right now, Al. Is we got to educate even the police of what we doing. And I don't know if with the Justice Department, Al, how do we deal with? You know, we know they can do some things, but they were just here in 2015, and they just gave a clean bill of health, and it was shooting of black individuals going on then. These things were already going on when they cut the deal in 2015, and there was some prominent people on that committee from the community, including Lisa with a Mother's Love. Nakima was involved with that. Lisa Neal Delgado. It was great people. And did they really listen to them, or they just listened to the ones they wanted to hear?
So 2 or 3 things come up. One, I'd ask Zach, and I forgot to follow up with you. You mentioned again to explain for people who is the Minneapolis Police Federation, because we've been using that term, and we didn't clarify for people who are not here what that means. But that's important because the Federation has a standing and a image in the community that, and I'll let you say it, some people see that as more powerful than the chief. But so explain who the Federation is, Al Flowers.
The Federation is the one, like any other, like any other union. The Federation is the one that depends the officers when they get in trouble. It's a Minneapolis Police Federation, and they defend the officers when the officers get in trouble or get disciplined. They defend them and then get them sent to arbitration. And when they go to arbitration, they more than likely get their job back, and so they really never get disciplined. And I'll say this about the Federation: when they asked the question yesterday, the one of the police said we have to deal with behavior, and I think AJ said that's Al Jr. I think he said, "What are we talking about police behavior?" And then he said, "Oh no, I ain't talking about that." And so that's where they stuck. And one of the things I said to him, Al, is we want the police to have a union. We just don't want you to defend bad policy or when the police is doing something wrong. Why do they have to support it? They didn't on the same time. If somebody black like Art Knight make a mistake and say, if you do something like this, you'll get the same old white boys in recruiting. He gets demoted, and then he get a letter against him to all the police with his life being threatened. So when you talk about it
again, somebody might not know that story, but since you brought it up, tell the story about Art Knight.
He was then was assistant to the chief, and what happened is he was doing an interview with a reporter, Labor Jamie, with the Star Tribune, and he said a question of when they were saying about how you will hire, get more people of color hire, they said no, go through the recruitment that they already had, and let's go to the CSOs. And Art said if you do the regular recruiting, a class that's in there, you're going to get the same old white boy. That's what the chief said. Now, you know, you can say that, but when he said it, then it was so tense right now, right, Al? It was so tense of what was going on with the police. They were looking for any black person on the department to do anything. They want to get it. They want to get after Chief Arredondo, but they couldn't get Chief Arredondo. So you get somebody close to him. So when Art said that about the white guy, the white boy, then they put that out. The union put a letter out denouncing Art and doing all that. Even though all those union employees, including Bob Crow, knew Art wasn't a racist, but he used it as the politics. Oh, y'all blacks. And see, that's what you think all black, they think the blacks are coming after the police. Mm-hmm. They think it's all us. They think it's us that's ain't trying to negotiate with the police when it really ain't us. We're trying to say we want to get treated right, you know. Mm-hmm. and so, but they were so gung-ho to come after the assistant chief just because he was African American. I could say that that's what I believe. And then they put our chief in a spot where the chief had been firing or disciplining other officers for saying things out of line. And here's a guy that lost his all just because he said the white boy in the Federation. And when they did it to him, he was once he got demoted, he was a union employee, a lieutenant for the union, and they went after him. So that shows the racism that the union had in them, and that shows why we are meeting with them, how they don't understand what's really going on as far as black and white. This is everybody else, they can say it's every other issue, but this is an African American and a police issue, and that's why we have to be in the forefront to move our agenda to say this is what we want. Then we got to tell the Justice Department, we got to tell the state this is what we want. That they don't and they don't give us the respect that we get. That they still treating us as inhuman right now, Al.
So one of the things that you've been saying consistently, Al Flowers, is that a lot of the rhetoric in the community about defund the police or abolish the police is just that rhetoric that may not properly serve the interest of black families and the black community. That your sense is that most African Americans are not anti-police. We're simply pro-justice. We want policing that works, that recognizes our dignity as human beings, our citizenship, our presence as mothers and fathers and homeowners and renters, and a policing or public safety system that approaches us with empathy that we see them provide to other people all the time, but not to us. And our complaint is that as often as not, any of us, black people in this country, can point to either personal or friends or family incidences where our people have been abused by the police. And we can all testify to having moments of basically terror or fear, because even if we know we're traveling in the neighborhood where we live and doing everything right, we know that at any time you can be pulled over, and and that things could be manufactured. That's kind of what the understanding is in our community. So the question is, how do we get to them so that they understand this is not a question of not having proper law enforcement, but it is the question of having proper law enforcement, and that is law enforcement that really reflects us, that includes us, and that respects us. What do you think, Al Flowers? I
think, Al, that's absolutely what we're trying to do now. We're trying to, and they'll call it separation. But like when the Justice Department came in, the people from St. Paul and Brooklyn Center was coming in asking the Justice Department about their area. And I'm a fighter for whether you're in Brooklyn Center or St. Paul. But I'm smart enough to know that we got to stay focused right here, because the outside people is the one that's coming in saying, don't listen to our black churches. Don't listen to our black leadership. Don't listen to what they're saying. And you know the system, Al. You know better than me that's what they're looking for. Me being a part of what they me being a part of what I've seen that side before. Those are friends of mine that I've dealt with on that side when I thought we just got to tear it up. And until I realized that tearing it up wasn't getting us nothing. It might get everybody else something, but it wasn't getting us anything. So when we look at the other people that's coming in and saying, trying to say they ain't been here long enough, number one, and I'm about the only one that continue to say it and don't get in trouble because they know I'm telling the truth. But they came in. People came from everywhere to disrespect us. And the police, as Zach talked about, when R.T. Ryback he didn't want to talk, and they created something after we did the mediation agreement. He talking about the blueprint for violence. He talking about the blueprint for violence. That's what they did. Instead of doing a mediation, using the mediation team, they used the blueprint for violence right after that. And Al, they played with that for the next 10 or 12 years. And so now this is our opportunity to speak up, not get pushed back. And that's why we develop relationship with the YMCA you know about that. And I think the mediation team is the one that's going to get us there, because this is Minneapolis. This Minneapolis. This is not the African American talking who's historically getting abused. This is every community: GLBT, Latino, East African, Native, American Indian movement. When I say Native, our community, and that's why. So if the Justice Department really was about justice, they in any of these organizations that say they speaking for us, if they was, we had the door open for everybody to come to this one table, and let's do it together, and let's do it with the young people. And then some of them, they got their own ideal that they want to be out there by themselves. They want to do shows. There were so many people that went on CNN, MSNBC that ain't did a drop of work on the ground, but it was their opportunity to get in front of that camera and say stuff that wasn't true. If they ain't talking, that's why I said our black media, our black churches are the most important things we got as institutions, and then the legacy organization, because they can they can gag our legacy organizations for whatever reason. I learned that, but they can't gag our media, and they can't gag activists like myself in this fight. But we should be at the front doing this, at the front of the table. African Americans got to make the decision how we gonna deal with police. It's only us, and right now it's in Minneapolis where they just trying to take, just trying to abolish and dismantle. And it ain't Minneapolis residents that's saying that whether you're black or white, it's social media that's beating the white people back in the house, and that's why now we telling them no, come back out. We gonna help show you no, this ain't what we want. We don't want 300 carjackings. We don't want elderly people getting robbed. We don't want 600 people getting shot after George Floyd died and 50-some murders. That ain't what we want, and it's a hard conversation for anybody to talk about but us if you're in the black community.
Let me shift focus. I've got about 5 minutes left here. What's going on right now at the legislature that we should be paying attention to? I know that one of the things you do in your capacity as what I call the field marshal of the Black community is follow and help legacy institutions and community groups understand where our interests are over at the state legislature. What's top of mind right now at the state legislature?
Well, thank you, Al, for that. I'm glad you asked me that because if you know, you did a panel at the YMCA just a few weeks ago with Majority Leader Ryan Winkler and YMCA CEO Glenn and Rich Melzer, and then the mediation team on both sides, Sage Street Partners and the mediation team. Then you and Ryan Winkler sent me an email, which I sent over to you. And he said we went to the next step at the legislature. He said he would like to get back together. He just sent that email yesterday saying that it moved forward. So that might be a conversation coming up. He was pretty happy about what was happening there. And that's to put the $15 million into public safety. So we'll be able to utilize that to do some of the work what we're talking about with Safe Street or mediation or what other people are doing. But I try to keep it focused on what we're doing. But yep, I just got that email yesterday. They said they were moving that forward. And I know Senator Champion is got some things over there going and cooking too. And the Philando Castillo bill, it might be a healthy bill. They asked for a lot of money, but we deserve a lot of money. So that's where we at the legislature, Al.
Great. Listen, we're out of time. This has been a wonderful conversation, but this is not the end of it. We'll be back again and again and again. One of the things that I'll be looking forward to working with you on, Al and Zach, is engaging the Young People's Task Force. And I've witnessed their ability to be clear, to be focused, to be principled, right? And to speak truth to power. And what I can tell you is that you are absolutely correct in having confidence in the young leadership that is developing, that we are developing, and that is developing of its own accord. And it just means we've got more work to do to ensure that we can share with them knowledge, information, narratives, stories. Like, Zach, just your ability to review what happened from 2000 to now. So important, right? And we have to just keep bringing the stories forward again so that we provide a context, right, for the change that we are working on. Al, thank you so much and appreciate you. Again, I'll be calling you to follow up on this in a matter of, as the weeks proceed. I think for me, the message is to say to our people, victory is possible, and victory is inevitable, and victory is at hand. Keep working, keep standing up, keep expecting what you desire, because you can do it. That's what I believe. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Zach. What I think about it, you're absolutely right, and I'm just thankful that I understand now, Al. I understand the importance of our story being told our way, and from our Black news. That's what I'll be campaigning. Read our Black news. Look at that. You could look at stuff on social media, but fact check it and make sure you're getting the right information.
Well, let me remind people to check you out too every Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock on KMOJ. And I think that's a show that rightfully has earned the attention of the entire community, because you bring it straight and no holds barred. And people call in, they like it, and keep up the good work.
Hey, thank you, Al, for keep pushing for our people.
All right, brother. Take care. I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane. We'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.
Oh, Queen Justice, where are you? Did they beat you up or no? Lock you on the ground, take the crown away from you?
Oh, Lady Liberty, red, white, and blue. Did they take your dignity with their bigotry? Teach you that you're born to lose.
Free or guilty, it's gonna get filthy. Better believe, roll up your sleeves. It's gonna get rough, it's gonna be tough. We all agree, we've had enough.
We've had enough
Of all the rules you break,
We've had enough
of all the money you make.
We've had enough
No more life at stake.
We've had enough.
This is a proclamation.
It's been 400 years and we're 400 late. Together we stand from state to state. Going back in time won't make America great. We need justice now, people won't wait.
Action, no more distraction. Every step we take, we gain traction. If it can happen to one, it can happen to all. United we stand, divided we fall. Free or guilty, it's gonna get filthy. Better believe, roll up your sleeves. It's gonna get rough, it's gonna be tough. We all agree, we've had enough.
We've had enough
Of all the rules you were breaking,
We had enough
of all the money you were making.
We had enough
No more life gets taken.
We had enough
This is the proclamation.
Free or guilty,
It's gonna get filthy. You better believe.
just roll up your sleeves.
It's gonna get rough. It's gonna be tough. We all agree. We've had enough.
We've had enough of all the rules you're breaking. We've had enough all the money you're making. We've had enough no more life gets taken. We've had enough this is the proclamation.
We've had enough. Trayvon Martin and Tommy Rice.
We've had enough
Michael Brown and Eric gonna pay the price.
We've had enough
Philando, Breonna, George Floyd. What?
We've had enough
So many gone. How can we fill the void?
How can we feel
We had enough. John Crawford, I know you've heard.
We've had enough
Sandra Bland, come on and take a stand.
We've had enough
Sean Bell,
Sean Bell
what the hell?
We've had enough
Freddie Gray, did you hear what I said?
We've had enough
This is a proclamation.